I'm really excited about this collaboration. On the first Tuesday of every month, participating channels are going to be posting a video of a recipe made with shelf-stable ingredients. And the rules are, the ingredients have to be something that is shelf-stable, doesn't need refrigeration or freezing. But you could home can it, like this, what Lisa from Sutton's Days would call ugly chicken, or you could buy it in the store with this chicken breast canned. So either home canned or store bought is fine as long as the items are shelf stable. We do allow eggs to be used in recipes because in my opinion they're shelf stable. If you lived in Europe, you would be buying the eggs right off the shelf, not in a refrigerated cooler. In America, we do things a bit different, but those of us that have our own chickens, it's very coop stable for eggs, let's say. So we are allowing eggs to be used in the recipes. Now, look at this cute little binder, isn't it neat? It says Shelf Stable Pantry Recipe Collaboration. And if you would like to make a binder like this, you can pick them up, at Goodwill, like 10 cents or something. I have a link down below where you can go and get the little sheet that goes in here. This is plastic and it has sheet just goes in like that. But I just thought that would be really neat because the idea of this whole collaboration, our goal is to help you and us build our own shelf-stable recipe book. So I'm really excited about this. Hey, my resilient citizens, it's Prepper Potpourri here. I hope you are a subscriber. If not, click on that subscribe button and on the bell icon so you can receive notifications for future shelf-stable recipe videos. Now, I want to shout out to all the channels collaborating this month. We have Tulilu Creates, Alderman Farms, Crazy Days, Diane the Canning Nana, Fermented Homestead, Helga's Pennsylvania Cooking, In the Kitchen with Karen, Jenny's Scratch Made Kitchen, which used to be Jenny Goff, she changed her channel name, Linda's Pantry, Mennonite Farmhouse, Sutton's Days, and me, Prepper Potpourri. And I will also keep a playlist every time a recipe video is posted. I'll put it in the playlist, and the link is in the description down below this video. One of the things that I think is really important is being creative and flexible with what you have on your pantry. You might look at a recipe and go, I don't have that ingredient. But you can maybe substitute something else from your pantry. So you need to have fun with recipes and try different things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When my son was young, my oldest son, he loved the Choose Your Own Adventure books. I don't know if any of you know what those are, but it's a thin, kind of more for beginner readers, and you, the reader, is a protagonist. And by what you choose, you determine the plot for the book. He just loved that. And I thought, I think I'm going to make a choose your own adventure type recipe for this first collaboration. So it is Prepper Potpourri's Meat Pot Pie. And using this recipe, this side and this side, there are at least 9 different variations, if not more, of different pot pies you can make. Now, I'll try to include this in the description, but it's awful, it's large, it's 2-sided, right? So again, I have a link, you just click on it and you can download this and put it in your recipe binder. So let's get started. So first, choose your meat. Do you want chicken or turkey, or do you want beef or pork? So I decided to go with pork, do something a little different for a meat pie. Now, Keystone does make the canned pork. The neat thing about this canned meat, it is just 2 ingredients. It's the meat and sea salt. But I'm going to use my own, maybe what Lisa would call ugly pork, but my canned pork in this recipe. But either one would be fine, or if you have some ham, you could use it, or like that Dak ham, any of those shelf-stable pork-type meats you can use in this recipe. Completely up to you. And it's completely up to you if you even want to use pork at all. Maybe instead you want to do the beef or chicken. So first I'm going to drain my pork. Get it all out. Okay. There we go. I'm draining it because I want to use the juice in this too. I'm going to break this up a little bit because it's in bigger chunks. And I don't want such big chunks in the pot pie. So, just mixing it up a little. So next, what crust do you want for your pot pie? Do you want more of the traditional pastry crust, a cornbread crust, or a Bisquick impossible crust? Well, with pork, I love cornbread. So I am going to make, with this Jiffy mix, a cornbread topping for my pot pie. It's so easy, let me show you. Now to make the topping, you do need milk. So you could have this milk. I get it from the Dollar Tree, and it's shelf stable. This is actually the whole milk. Or you could make the equivalent to liquid from your powdered milk storage. Or if you have evaporated milk, you can open a can of that and add equal parts water to the evaporated milk for the amount you need. So you don't need to have milk stored in your refrigerator to make these shelf-stable recipes. So we're making our cornbread topping here according to the Jiffy box. We need 1 egg. Yeah, we're just going to beat that up a little. And then we're putting in 1/3 cup of milk, mixing that in. And then emptying our package in. Okay, we're just going to mix it up. Mixes up really fast. Whip it good now. Okay, we're going to set this aside a minute. Next is potatoes. Which potato are you going to choose? White or sweet potatoes? The white comes in the can, but you could also use your dehydrated diced potatoes. Or you can have sweet potatoes. And again, you can use your home dehydrated diced sweet potatoes. Those would work out just fine. Just if you're using any dehydrated items here, I suggest you rehydrate them first, because this doesn't cook that long and you don't want it absorbing all the liquid. And I'll need 1.5 cups of whatever potatoes chosen. You're going to need a tablespoon of dehydrated onion in any of the variations of this recipe you choose, but then you can choose whatever vegetables you want. Maybe you just want 1.5 cups of veg all. The funny thing is, it doesn't taste as bad as I thought it would. But you could also put in some lima beans, some peas, corn, carrots, and any that you have for home dehydrated you can also use. Or if you have freeze-dried food, any of those would be fine. So I'm using some corn and peas. And then I'm putting in a tablespoon dehydrated onion flakes. And you don't have to rehydrate this first. It works just fine, the recipe the way it is. Now your pot pie has to have a gravy. So you can just use bottled gravy, right? This is pork gravy. Or you can make it up from a packet. Or you can use bouillon. But I'm going to use some Campbell's soup instead. And I'll show you how I'm going to do it. Now to make our gravy, we're just going to pour in our soup. And in this case, instead of the golden mushroom, I'm using the beefy mushroom. Either one works just fine. And then you want 1/3 cup water. I'm using the juice from my canned pork. I had to add just a little water to make 1/3 cup. Then a teaspoon of the low sodium soy sauce. I think low sodium works better in this. Okay. And then let's just mix it up. The final thing is spicing. You know, what spices are you going to add? And that is totally up to you. I do suggest adding a 1/4 teaspoon black pepper and a 1/4 teaspoon salt, but not if you're using the bouillon to make your gravy, because generally that's pretty salty. And then you can add other spices. Maybe you want garlic, maybe you want something like that. In my case, for my pork, I'm going to add some rosemary. And then for my spices, just a little salt. You can always add more salt later if you need it. A little pepper, black pepper, and a little rosemary. Okay, stir it back up. And that's all there is to it for our gravy. Oh, it's already smelling so good. It's that rosemary. Now, you might decide to use a pie plate, but for this recipe, I think I'm going to use my cast iron skillet. So I'm going to put in my vegetables. Put in my meat. Okay. Now for my potatoes, I've rinsed them because I don't want that sweet syrup on them. Again, some of this is just too big of pieces, so I'm just cutting it up. That should be fine. Now let's mix this up a bit. And right now, it doesn't look too appetizing, but it will when we put the gravy on it. I poured the gravy into the skillet over the vegetables and then dolloped on the cornbread mix. And the cornbread will expand a bit while it's cooking. And now I'm just going to place it in my oven, which has been preheated to 400 degrees for about a half hour. Okay, fresh out of the oven, took exactly 30 minutes. Doesn't that look good? Nice crisp cornbread crust. We're gonna let it cool for about 5 minutes before we cut a piece and do our taste test. Okay, let's cut a piece here. And we don't want to lose any of this. Doesn't that look good? Let's do our taste test. Okay. Let's get a little piece of pork, a little cornbread, little veggies. Try not to burn ourselves here. Crunchy cornbread, and the pork. Oh, this is really a great combination. One more bite. I mean, how easy was this? It's so tasty, so good. And you made it all with things right on your shelves in your pantry. Now next time, maybe you want a chicken pot pie made with a traditional pastry crust, or make a ground beef pot pie with an impossible biscuit cup crust. I mean, there's so many ways you can do this. There's so many different ways you can do the gravy, and you can add whatever vegetables you want. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Make sure you download it below and watch all the other channels today who have a shelf-stable pantry recipe just for you.